off to see a supplier who has a business and warehouse on the top of the Isle of Portland. It's about the remotest spot you can get in Dorset, I think. I've been up there when the wind is coming in and the rain in about 4 directions at once, horizontal. Take the life in their hands round here, crossing the road like that. Here we have the famous causeway, which is the road that goes from Weymouth to Portland itself. We've got the sea on both sides, or I think technically on the right hand side is the fleet. Absolutely amazed. I've never seen speed cameras or sneaky Pete vans or the local Whistling Brigade with the cameras out here. I mean, because this is dead straight and you come along in an evening when it's deserted, it's a huge temptation to hit warp factor or whatever. Famous Chesil Bank on the right hand side. 18 miles it stretches. The trouble is, when we get fishing reports, it's all Chesil Beach. Nobody designates the catch point as one of the 20 odd different locations along Chesil Beach. If we did that locally where I live, we just took an area from, say, Studland Bay round to Leap, which is also about 18 miles, and instead of dividing that up into 30 or 40 different venues, it would be one heck of a catch reports. But anything on the whole 18 miles of Chesil just gets designated Chesil. Left turn here takes you off to the new marina, where we go when we take our trips from Fins up. It was all built at great expense for the Olympics, the sailing events in 2012. Nobody quite worked out that yacht racing isn't actually a spectator sport, and nobody's going to pay good money to sit in a grandstand watching specks out at sea in the distance, competing in racing that nobody really understood other than the participants the rules of. Doing a local cop reckon that the Olympics was the best overtime he ever had, because police said the visitors outnumbered about 2 to 1, and the local criminals expecting the police presence didn't turn up, and the crowds to watch the Olympics didn't turn up. Town itself. In the past, really, a high tide and big winds and whatnot, you'd end up with the water coming over the top of Chesil Bank and flooding all through this area, and the ground would be strewn with boulders. start the climb up to the top of Portland through the old part of the town. Nearly missed a gear change there, that would have been fun. Very embarrassing to video that. That takes heroism cycling up here. Honestly don't know the age of these properties. I'm guessing it must be over 100 years old mostly. I certainly wouldn't want to be walking up here. This is what you call on top of Portland. Well, you may notice from here that the light has changed a little bit from the earlier video. Basically because we're now looking at about 5:30 in the evening. Came down to Portland to spend the afternoon with one of my suppliers, going through all the new wonderful stuff for the coming year and beating them down on prices so you guys can afford to buy it. Spent the afternoon with them, drinking his coffee and eating his sandwiches, so it's not all bad news. Just on my way back now, I thought a little run around Portland, give you guys an idea what it's all like when you're down there on Chesil Beach fishing and looking up at Portland and thinking, I wonder what it's like up there, I've never been there. Because so many of us come to fish Chesil, Weymouth beaches, don't come up the top here. Mostly very old, everything on Portland. And we'll just film it on the run down from the top. This I think is what they call Southwell. The new houses here being built in the Portland stones to look like the originals. Makes a nice change to see new stuff being built to blend in with the stuff that's been there for 100 years before. the only thing that's changed around here in the last 100 years is the age of the cars that are parked. And the fact there's no cars and not horses and carts. This is Eastern. Should just follow it round. That's one of the old cranes they used for moving the famous Portland stone. Not totally convinced it used it in the location it's at, but it's the type, I think they call it a tilly or something. Or a tilly whim after the caves. I don't know, I must look it up. Not somewhere you want to be driving down in the snow and ice. Could be a bit of excitement. Weymouth Bay opens up before us, or it would if it wasn't covered by the mist. Keep in mind when you're down this way that for some strange reason this is a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit along here. Goes up to 50 once you get past this roundabout. Park on the gravel off to the left if you can get onto it down at the far end by the roundabout. It's a much shorter walk to go fish Chesil, and you don't get robbed by the National Trust car park up here. National speed limit for the rest of the causeway, so who's in a rush? It's a fair old mist coming in, so it's a sign of a nice day tomorrow, we hope. about Weymouth is you get a lot of people live here but don't actually work here, because other than seasonal stuff there isn't a lot of work, with the result of the property is relatively cheap compared to some of the surrounding areas. So this time in the evening when you're going home, you tend to find the traffic jams are coming into Weymouth, and early hours of the morning when you're coming in, the traffic jams are going out of Weymouth. So generally when I come down here it's to go on fins up for fishing trips, so it's a 7 o'clock arrival and going home at this time of night.